Captain Sam, can you hear me? On your left.
Thanks for the ride, Uncle Ben.
Wait a minute, Peter. We need to talk anymore. You shirk your chores. You have all those weird experiments in your room. You start fights at school.
I didn't start that fight. I told you that.
Well, you sure as hell finished.
What was I supposed to do? Run away?
No, you're not supposed to run away. But Pete, look, you're changing. I know. I went through exactly the same thing at your age.
No, not exactly.
Peter, these are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life. Just be careful who you change into. This guy Flash talked. He probably deserved what happened. But just because you can be doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Is that him?
Yeah, it has to be.
Peter! Peter!
Peter!
Peter!
Assemble. I am inevitable. And I am Iron Man.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Marvelous Discussions. So, we have Daredevil Born Again coming out. We can't do this review until we go through all of the original Daredevil series, and I'm really excited about this one. I'm really excited to go over all the seasons of Daredevil. So, Daredevil, I felt like this was a show we really needed to go over the seasons individually. There's no way we could do a whole review on all three seasons together. Not this show. Iron Fist, maybe when we get to that. So, anyways, please welcome as I bring on my co-host, Sox Bulletins. How are you, man?
Doing pretty good. Yourself?
Very good. Very pumped. Very excited to talk some Daredevil season 1. I'm really excited to talk about this season because I'm going to be honest. I'm saying this as a DC guy. As a DC guy, I am saying this is probably my favorite superhero television ever. Daredevil season 1. I think it's like, I don't know what I would consider better than Daredevil season 1. At least if we talk live action. I do not have not even a DC show I could rank above Daredevil season 1. Maybe a movie, but not a TV show. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Okay. Wow. All right.
I mean, hey, hopefully there'll be something that tops Daredevil. But I mean, I'm just going through the shows in my head right now, and season one, I can't top season one, honestly, of Daredevil. Maybe season two, but not season one.
So, in your opinion, there's no current or past DC show from anything that was created by DC to get top season one of Daredevil?
At least talking live action. I mean, that's what I'm saying right now. I think about not Smallville, not Superman and Lois, none of the Arrowverse
What?
shows, but the Arrowverse shows suck. I don't know, honestly. I mean, I really, like, I think about it, you think of the Mac shows, not Titans, not Doom Patrol, not Penguin. Live action wise, in terms of anything live action, the only thing I would think of is Zack Snyder's trilogy, or soon to be pentalogy. Sells the shell to Netflix, sells Snyderverse to Netflix. But yeah, other than that, though, other than Zack Snyder's DC movies, I can't think of anything that trumps Daredevil to me.
Well, my friend, now you know what it's like to be like how I am. Because to me, Daredevil was the best live action comic book show I ever saw in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have, like, I was watching season one. I don't have anything negative to say about this. But, anyway, let's get started. The story. Sucks. What's your thoughts on the story of this movie?
Great. It's absolutely, the writing is perfect for this show, man. I mean, it's dark. It has its light moments to it. It's about, a lawyer that goes through a very traumatic situation as a child with being blinded and then losing his father, the rise of the kingpin, him getting trained as a martial artist, as a vigilante, going through law school, becoming a lawyer, all that twists and turns that this Matt Murdock has to go through. And plus, he's a Catholic, so he has to deal with that situation altogether with that reason alone, because Catholicism weighs on hard on a Catholic. I'm not Catholic, but I know people that are, and it really rings true for a lot of people and what he goes through. And let's be real, man. Matt Murdock is a bit of a playboy in his own way, not money-wise with Tony Stark, but in the comics, Matt Murdock does get down with a lot of different ladies, man. A lot of different ladies.
Yeah, I mean, as Foggy says, despite the fact that he's blind, he's able to tell the hot women from the non-hot women.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, I love this story because I think so. A criticism I have of the later Netflix shows. I mean, I know they're not on Netflix anymore, but they did start on Netflix. So a criticism I have of the later seasons of Daredevil and the other shows is the loose connection to the MCU. Like, here's my thing with it. It's like, I either want it to be all in or I want it to be all out. None of this halvesy bullshit, because then it just feels awkward, honestly. But I felt like season one, I didn't really have this issue too much, because in the MCU timeline, there wasn't really much that happened at this point other than the incident, the attack on New York from Loki. But the incident, that was okay for it to be the only reference, because that's all that really happened. I don't know if, in terms of the timeline, I don't know if it takes place before or after Age of Ultron, but that's not New York, so it makes sense. I wouldn't necessarily talk about that one as much, whereas the incident happened in New York. And what I like about it is that the incident is actually a big part of this story. You have Kingpin, who wants to use the incident for his real estate. I feel like I'm diminishing and calling it real estate, but that's basically what it is. This whole thing, he's like, his better tomorrow, getting control of the land. He's using the destruction from the incident to get that. But that's what I like, is that this is probably the strongest season that connects to the MCU. And if you're going to say you're canon to the MCU, you got to connect to it. So I think that's another thing I really love about this story. And seeing this lawyer, this blind lawyer, fighting for what's right, using his alter ego and his superhero identity both to fight the bad guys, using his lawyer aspect, his lawyer skills, and his fighting skills. And it's a really great story. It's a really dark and gritty story, because I've always I've always liked the darker stories. You know, I've enjoyed the darker stories a lot more, and this one is really dark. This one is super dark, but I think overall it's a great story. It's a perfect story to me. There's just everything that goes right about it. It's like, you know, a mobster who rises his way, rises to the man on top, has the media bought out, has the cops bought out. I mean, think about that, Sox. What could you do if you have half the precinct, half the media all bought out? That's like, how do you stop a man like that? And it's such a great story. I think it's a phenomenal story, and the tone is perfect in the series. Is that they don't have any comedy that's too out of place. I mean, there's some stuff like "Stop buying my mom cigars," and then that joke later repeated by Matt Murdock's like, "You gotta stop buying best cigars." So I think that I mean, again, chuckle moments, not balls out laughing moments, as I famously say. But Sox, what's your thoughts on the tone and atmosphere of the series, of the season? Season one specifically is what we're reviewing.
There's a reason. It's not really ever really been said why. There was some sort of weird situation going on behind the scenes between Jeff Loeb and Kevin Feige. The shows on Netflix, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and so on, acknowledged the movies. That was all under Jeff Loeb's control when he was running the TV division. The Kevin Feige films under the MCU umbrella never acknowledged the shows, and yeah, that is a problem. Because it's supposed to be connected, but it's only one sided. I agree with you. It should either be all in or not at all. I like my stuff connected. I always did. They call it the incident. I don't know why it's referred to that. It's kind of silly. If you look in sometimes in the background of like say where Ben Urich works at that newspaper, on his wall, you got newspaper clippings of certain events that have happened. The incident is one. Hulk destroys Harlem. That's the other one. And there's a few other ones. There are, pictures on the wall of articles that he wrote for the paper. Now that Kevin Feige's got full control of the entire thing, both movies and TV, we'll be able to have more stuff connected. And it's supposed to be connected, but the actress that played Chloe Bennett, well, I think it's her real name, she was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She actually made a statement some years ago on Twitter or whatever about somebody saying, why isn't the shows mentioned on the movies? And she came out and said what she said about towards Kevin Feige. And she was right. I agree with her. They're not mentioned in the movies. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think it's season 2 or season 3. I have to go back and rewatch the entire show again. Where they build up by the time the last episode of one of those seasons, season 2 or 3, they build it right up into the new Age of Ultron movie. Goes right into it, but it's never acknowledged in the movie at all about the S.H.I.E.L.D. guys, and it bothers me. I agree.
Season 2. And Daisy Johnson, Chloe Bennett's the actress. Daisy Johnson's the character.
Right, but to get back to the tone and atmosphere, it's dark. It has its moments, and I enjoy that show for what it is, man. Because Daredevil is a dark character, and it's weird because when Daredevil was first created in comics, he wasn't a dark character. He was a very light-hearted, swashbuckler type character. Until Frank Miller came along and made him totally dark. Yes, the same Frank Miller that wrote Batman Year One and Dark Knight. But before he did that, he did Daredevil. And Daredevil, his Daredevil run is on the same level as his Batman run.
Yeah, I know. I think Mikey Sutton even mentioned that because you got Mark Waid who wrote the lighter stuff of Daredevil, and then you got Frank Miller who wrote the darker stuff. And I think for this story, you need the darker stuff. Like a character like Kingpin, he is a dark character. He is a really dark character, and I think the tone and the atmosphere really worked in this series. And it's funny because I think it does make it feel a lot different from the rest of the MCU in that regard, because the rest of the MCU is not this dark. None of the MCU movies have been this dark. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not that dark. And so it's just, the tone
Well,
definitely does feel different than that.
Agents of Shield gets a little bit darker a couple of seasons down the line when he switched the timeline, I'm sorry, when he switched the time from 8 o'clock at night to 9 o'clock at night, because the show used to originally come on at 8 p.m. and then a couple of seasons later they switched it to 9 p.m. And broadcast TV is weird because you can do things a little bit more darker and different at a 9 p.m. time slot than you can at 8 p.m. time slot. I can't explain why.
Because children go to bed earlier. That's probably why.
Probably. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, this tone is just such a great... It really does work, though, for the series. Because, again, streaming, you can do whatever you want. You can do, like, anything for streaming. But I think overall, this tone really works. And it really works for the series. And now let's go to Matt Murdock, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. Sox, what's your thoughts on this character?
Charlie Cox is perfect as this character. I can't see any other actor playing Daredevil other than Charlie Cox. Perfect job as both Matt Murdock and as Daredevil.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's the best of both characters, of both Matt Murdock and Daredevil, or the Devils of Hell Kitchen, as they call him until the finale. But because it's hard to do, I feel like, because a lot of times I feel like this happens a lot with Batman, is that there's some actors who are better Batman, some who are better Bruce Wayne. For example, Michael Keaton, I say, is a better Batman, whereas Christian Bale is a better Bruce Wayne. Because, yeah, to me, no one but Ben Affleck is the best of both characters in terms of the Batman. But with Daredevil, yeah, Charlie Cox is perfect as both Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Probably better than Ben Affleck for Daredevil, but I have not seen that movie yet, so don't shoot me. But anyways, he's such a great character, is that he seems like a very compelling lawyer. Is that if, let's say that there was no Daredevil, let's just say there was some show about Matt Murdock, the lawyer, like it was a complete lawyer show played by Charlie Cox, I would watch that show. Like, I mean, that's how good of a lawyer he is that I would watch that show. Like a blind lawyer practicing law, that itself would be a compelling show. And that's what I love. It's like when you make both the secret identity and the superhero identity interesting, because that's something that's really important to do. Because that's how am I going to say this without getting people mad at me? But that is a criticism I have of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, is that I don't really like that Clark Kent is just a disguise for Superman. Is that Clark Kent's a nothing character. Superman's the only character. I don't like that. Whereas this guy, Daredevil, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, I like that both are important. And I love the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. And I like that, again, he's not Daredevil right away. I like that they build towards that because it makes sense. Like, he's in the shadows. He's not broadcasting his name. No one's going to come up with the name Daredevil right away. That's not how that would work. So I like the way that they set it up, where it's not until he makes a big public appearance that the newspapers decide to give him a real name now when they know he's no longer a terrorist. Sox, what's your thoughts of him as like the Devil of Hell's Kitchen in this season?
I enjoy it, man, because with Daredevil, he's balancing out being a lawyer, a vigilante, and a Catholic, and all that bits together, and what he has to do, and his moral stance, and certain lines he won't cross. That really weighs down on him. Daredevil, to me, Matt Murdock alone. Daredevil was one of the greatest martial artists in Marvel Comics, dude. That's not a joke. I mean, Daredevil can fight. We see what he can do, and I mean, this guy can go toe to toe with a lot of the great ones, man. Especially whether it's in Marvel or in other companies with certain other characters that I'm not going to talk about right now, but you know who I mean. But other than that,
beat him though. Punisher beat Daredevil though, Sox.
Yeah, but Daredevil beat Iron Fist. Yeah, he did. He did. Which is weird because, okay, I'm gonna. Should we talk about the Punisher Daredevil fight now, or wait till next week?
You know what? Let's wait till next week because we'll get too off topic because we'll review season 2.
Yeah, we will. We will. We really
So
will.
we'll hold off on that. But all I'll say right now is that season 2 proves once and for all that Batman would beat Daredevil. That's what I'll say with
How?
that.
Did
We'll
you
wait
ever
till
read the
next week.
comic where they actually fought? Did you ever read the comic where they fought?
We'll wait till the next review, Sox, and I'll explain my logic.
Okay. Okay.
But anyways, overall, this is a great character, and I love his conflict. I love that he doesn't always do the right thing. That he was willing to kill Wilson Fisk when he was pushed when Elena died. That he wanted to kill Fisk, and I like that he's morally gray in a lot of ways. Is that it makes sense that think about this guy. His father died when he was a kid. He grew up in an orphanage. He was blinded as a kid, and he learned to fight. I mean, it makes sense that he would want to. That at some point he would cross that line, but he didn't. Obviously, we saw what happened after that. But overall, great character. I guess anything else you want to say about this character, Sox?
Daredevil went through a lot, man, and especially Matt Murdock. Because like you said, with his father, blinded, and Kingpin, and you find out later on during the show that his father worked for, the mob, and watching his father through that fight to get the money to get to his son. He may have lost. He won the fight, but it cost him his life.
Think about it, though. He didn't have to win that fight, essentially. He was going to make a lot of money. He could have put all the money on him. The fact that he sacrificed himself just so his son would be proud of him, though.
Yeah. But it cost him his life.
Yeah. What a good dad, though, really, is that despite the fact is that he really did look out for his son. He wanted his son to do his homework. He was sacrificed himself so his son would be proud of him. Really, that's why he sacrificed himself. Is like he could have bet all that same money on him losing. But no, he wanted to be a good role model for his son. Just so many great things about this story about Matt Murdock's background. It's such a tragic background, and just overall great. Now so Sox, is he blind? I'm so confused by that still. It's like he's like World on Fire, you can kind of see it, but there's still aspects where he is blind, sort of.
The chemicals that got into Matt's eyes blinded him, but he can see the outline of things. Okay, it's hard to explain because there is a flaw, people, of the Daredevil series that they didn't do right, that the movie with Ben Affleck did do right. There's one flaw. They don't show you how his powers work, how his eyesight works from his point of view, in the show, like it does in the Ben Affleck movie. If you watch the Ben Affleck, with Karen, right? With the raindrops. That's the closest you get to it. If you watch the Ben Affleck movie, it's not that great of a movie, but if you watch it, you see how his powers really work there. Okay, it's like a sonar, like a bat. Think of like I hate to use this as a reference. Dark Knight, the Dark Knight, where Batman had those things on, so he could see, what Lucius Fox created for him. That's how Daredevil constantly sees all the time.
Well, because you do see a little bit of that outline when he's talking to Claire when he mentions World on Fire. You do kind of see that a little bit, but it's still a little. I mean, I guess you wouldn't be able to drive like that, but
no. There is a way to beat Daredevil. It's not easy, but I know how to do it though.
By being Batman. And also I assume
you had to cause
loud noises. Wouldn't loud noises?
That's part of it. Yeah. That is part. If you cause like a lot of sonnets, it'll mess him up. But don't think that's just the only way that's going to do it, because you need to get in there and physically attack him, because if he gets his hands on you, you're done. Exactly.
Unless you're Batman. But anyways, I will say this too before we move on. I cannot believe that Charlie Cox is British when I watch this show.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
holy shit, that is a flawless American accent.
It's weird knowing that the British can do really good American accents, but Americans can't do British accents to save their lives, man.
No, I don't know why. Maybe it's a more like neutral act. Like I think they say like the Midwest accent is like is a more neutral accent. So I maybe that's why. I don't know. But yeah, I mean you're right. I mean you think about it. You Christian Bale, Henry Cavill,
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland,
Yeah.
like all these actors. So, but anyways, overall great character. Now Karen Page. Okay, first of all, I do find it funny that a woman who becomes a reporter later on, her last name is Page.
I find it even more funnier that, she becomes a reporter without having a degree in journalism.
Okay, well, we'll get into that rant in season 2 when we review season 2. But in terms of season 1, what's your thoughts on this character?
Really good. She played, I don't want to say that. I don't really, she's not really a damsel in distress, even though she's, falsely accused of murder, which she didn't do, because she does, fight back throughout the rest of the season and the rest of the show. So I can't call her a damsel in distress because she's not. But every time I see Karen Page, I think to myself, "Oh, I feel so sorry for this poor girl." Again, I read the comments. I know what happens to her in the comments. Now, obviously, the show is not going to follow the comments 100% because if it did, oh God, poor Karen.
Oh, maybe Born Again will follow the comics then.
If Born Again were to follow the comments, and then you had to add what's that other story? Kevin Smith wrote Daredevil for a while too. Devil's Guardian, I think it's called. If you add those two together, Karen would not be around.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that then to avoid spoilers. But anyways, Sox, what are some of your thoughts on this character in season 1? How she is, how like she interacts with Foggy and Murdoch.
You can tell right off the bat that her and Foggy are like really good friends, but you can tell with her and Matt that there's something more there. And yeah, she has an attraction towards Matt. We've already established that. But Karen comes from a very broken family. They establish that more later on down the line. You're gonna find out about that when you watch the rest of the seasons. You've probably already seen it by now, but you know what I'm talking about. But her connection to Matt and her connection to Foggy, and then later on her connection to what she did to Wesley. What she did to Wesley, because Wesley was stupid enough to do something stupid. It cost him what he wasn't really playing. Wesley may have been highly intelligent, but not in that scene. He wasn't.
That was a great character of Karen. That's what I like about Karen is that she's not just some damsel in distress. Yes, there's moments she needs saving, but that scene you mentioned with Wesley, she saved herself in that scene. Is that she took that moment of Wesley's stupidity, of his distraction, to take the gun and do what she needed to do. Because I don't blame Karen for what she did. I mean, she felt guilty for taking a man's life, and you should always feel guilty for taking someone's life, even if you do it, even if it's what I call a righteous kill, even if it's you did the right thing. There's still that guilt you're going to have. But she did what she had to protect her friends, because you saw what Wesley said he was going to do. He was like, I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to kill Uric. I'm going to kill Murdoch and Nelson. And I'm going to kill all these people that you've known, that you've come in contact with. What was Karen supposed to do at that point? She had no choice. And it's not like he was going to let her leave. I mean, she did what she had to do. And I don't blame her for that. But that's what makes this character great. She wants to do what's right. She wants to fight for what's right. I mean, think about it. Think of how many people would, in Karen's situation, when you're given that payout to take the money and go away, most people would do that. I'm not gonna lie. I can't say that I wouldn't do that. I would love to say that, I'd be just like Karen and I would work with a reporter to try to expose it. But I don't know if I would do that. I'd be like, I might just take the money and try to rebuild my life, move out of town, go to a new city. Like, I might do that. I don't know what I would do, but that's what's great about this character, is that she's an awesome character in this series. And because I'm gonna be honest, I've always said that I feel like female characters tend not to be written as well as male characters, and I blame that on the writers. Just to clarify, I blame that on the writers who write these series. But I feel like this character, she does such a great job. She's a badass. She fights for what's right. She's wanting to help Elena out, even doing some like maintenance stuff for her. She knows some Spanish even. She's just such a great character. She's such a great addition to the team. I guess any other thoughts you want to say about Karen?
Well, and the one thing I needed to say about Karen that I was impressed by was, and it's connected to Wesley. Wesley is supposed to be like Kingpin's consigliere. What a consigliere is, you're an advisor. You advise your boss in a mob what to do. That's what your role is. He took it out of Kingpin's hands, and he went and grabbed this girl and put a gun in her face. So that's not what you're supposed to do. That's not your job, Wesley, and it cost you your life. You got what you deserve for being stupid.
We'll talk about Wesley's stupidity with that later, definitely. But anything else you want to say about Karen before we move on?
No, we can move on.
Okay, now. Foggy, or as Fisk says in season 2, Franklin Percy Nelson. What's your thoughts on this character?
Foggy is very naive in a lot of ways. Obviously, we find that out. He's very much tries to be the brother to Matt Murdock. We find that out. Very optimistic early on. But when he finds out that his best friend is actually a vigilante that goes out at night and beats up the bad guys, it messes with him on a moral level, because this is how he signed up for. He wanted to do the law, go by the law, for the law. And now that his partner, that's actually his business partner in that, is taking things outside of the law, it's messing with him on a moral level. And now he's got to, he's like, if we ever get found out that you did this, our entire, business will come crashing down around us because of your stupidity, Matt Murdock. But Murdock is not going to explain himself, because he's already explained himself to him like 100 times over. But he's also worried about his friend, because his friend is constantly getting beat up, cut up, and messed up. But Matt has a obligation that he feels that he has to do, just like Foggy has an obligation to take care of his friend. So there is a moral debate between them two. It's kind of hard to be Matt Murdock's friend when you're watching your friend constantly get into a fist fight and coming out with new bruises and bumps all over his face. But Foggy's going to do what Foggy's going to do.
Well, especially think about this, though. When he finds out that Matt Murdock is the devil of Hell's Kitchen, remember, they turned down like these great jobs, these great cushy jobs that would have had them set for life at Lehman and Zapp because of morality. Because Matt Murdock was like, I don't like what they're doing. They're totally screwing over this guy. It's not right. That's not okay. We cannot support a company like this. We have to be within the law. We have to be right. So for Foggy, he turned that down for Matt, only to find out that Matt is secretly going outside the law for his own agenda. So Foggy's reaction is totally justifiable. But also when they met, Matt's not blind. Like, that's the thing. Like, from Foggy's point of view, Matt is not blind. And they've been friends long enough that Foggy absolutely deserved to know that, to know the truth about Matt. Well, what I mean, because, he's saying, like, are you blind? He's like, world on fire. That's not really being blind. So, but that's the thing, though, is that, because, like, I'll be honest with you, Sax. Normally, I hate this cliche where it's like, I'm mad that you didn't tell me this secret. It's like, you're not, like, how long have you known me for? Why do you get to know this secret? But they've been friends for a long enough time that it makes sense that Foggy's reaction makes sense. Because also, think about this, too. Murdoch didn't have any family. He had no family. His only family was his father, who died. The closest thing he had to family was Foggy. This guy right here that we're talking about. So his reaction made sense. And I like that he is definitely the more naive one at points, as you said. Like, he's the one who wants to just take the money. He's the one who wants to, like, who wants to help people, but maybe not necessarily think of their safety. Like Elena, he's like, fight, even if it, fight for your home. But really, in my opinion, she should have just taken the money because, you got to get out of there. You got to think about your safety. But all Foggy wants to be at the end of the day, he just wants to be the best avocados ever. He just wants to be the best avocados at law ever. And if this is a spoiler review, so you know what I'm talking about when I say that.
Yeah. But at the same time, Foggy, he's like a teddy bear. Or as that one girl calls him, a foggy bear, and she is that woman that he hooks up with, that easy on the eyes, but a bad attitude, man. It's like, do I or do I not? I guess I do, but I'm going to hit myself for doing it. But I get it why he did, because she was a good-looking chick, but cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, the way her attitude was, man. But still, that's besides the point. That's yeah. I'm getting off track here. But they eventually come around, and then you find out by season 3 that Daredevil Matt Murdock does have still one family member that's still alive.
Oh, right, yeah, technically you do, but as far as he knows, as far as he grew
as
up.
of right now, as of now, he thinks he's all by himself.
And also, too, despite the Foggy being kind of naive, he's still a badass at times. Like when those men attack Karen outside of Elena's apartment. He uses his baseball skills, of all things, to save Karen.
Matt Murdock said that Foggy would probably be playing as a shortstop for the Mets next season.
Yeah, he has other skills like that. I mean, he also was supposed to be a butcher.
Is that, yeah.
But the one thing is he's loyal to Matt, though. Yeah, he's upset at the end when he finds out, but eventually they make up. But even still, is that he believes in Matt. He believes in Matt that they can be the best avocados at law ever. But overall, he's a great character. And, like, the way that he was, like, it's always hard. When you have, like, a friend with a disability, some people, like, dance around it. It's always hard to... Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to know, like, what's the appropriate thing to say to them. Like, can you be friend? Like, can you say this to them? Is this okay to say to them? Do you, like, pretend that you don't notice it at all? But with Foggy and Matt, he's like, he doesn't even hide it. He's like, and Matt said he appreciated that. It's like, yeah, I'm glad that you just aren't afraid of me or afraid to acknowledge that I'm blind. It showed that friendship, that how comfortable Foggy was with Matt to make that kind of comment, because really, you do want to be open with people, right? You don't want to dance around someone like they're made of glass. That's never a good thing. And it just shows with Foggy is that he's willing to, like, he has that friend that Matt needed at the end of the day. And he's a great character, and I'm glad both he and Karen are returning for Born Again, because correct me if I'm wrong, Sox, but they were not supposed to be in Daredevil Born Again at first. Like, in the original draft of the script, they were not there.
You're absolutely right, my friend. That was the true story behind, when the show was initially talked about. From what I understand, they weren't going to be there, and then they were talking about they were going to probably either kill them two off, or they weren't going to be there at all, one of the two. And that Matt Murdock wouldn't become Daredevil, put his costume back on to like maybe episode 4. And it was the She-Hulk writer that was writing this horrible show. Kevin, yeah, I agree. Is that Yeah, it was that bad. The look you just made about when I mentioned the She-Hulk writer, I felt the same pain, buddy. I was to the point where like no, I can't do this again. So, but Kevin Feige, genius that he is, and I mean that sincerely, saw all this and fired all these people, every single one of these writers, brought in the writers and the showrunner from Punisher, and I think the writers from the Moon Knight show. I think that's where he brought that writer from. Some other real darker writers onto Daredevil and started from scratch. So, like Jessica Jones was supposed to be one of the main supporting characters for Born Again, but she was busy. The actress that plays Jessica Jones, Kristen Ritter, was busy making another show at the time. She might do an appearance this coming season Born Again. I'm not exactly sure. I think she is. So Feige and the showrunner and the writers like, well, we can't use her too much because she's busy doing that show. They decided we'll bring back John Bernthal as Punisher, and he's going to do multiple episodes as the Punisher for this season. And I'm sitting there like, sounds good to me, buddy.
Yeah, I can. And I'm glad that they're able to correct those mistakes, though, because again, it's kind of what I said earlier. If you're going to say you're good, especially now that they're saying that the Netflix shows are canon, because the Netflix shows were not going to be canon at first. Like, it was originally going to be a reboot with essentially Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio playing variants, or technically that's the Sacred Timeline, so the Netflix ones would be the variants. But you get my point.
Right.
Eventually, they decided to be canon, and that's like Vanessa, for example. She was going to be recast. She even filmed.
Right.
She filmed episodes. Even the new actress filmed
Right.
episodes, and then they brought back the original actress, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
To show that continuity. So, but overall, I'm glad Feige's a great character. I'm glad he's going to be back. We'll see how he looks with the beard because he has the beard in Born Again from the set photo. So, we'll see how we like the beard. But now, Claire Temple. What's your thoughts on this character, Socks?
She's based off a character in Marvel Comics called the Night Nurse. Not any, doesn't have any superpowers or anything like that I can recall. Some people say she's based on this character and another character. I don't know about the other character, but I know about this.
There's a Claire Temple character and a Night Nurse character.
Well,
I looked this up.
What I understand of her character, well, she's in all the Netflix shows. This, Daredevil,
Punisher.
It's that Punisher, right? Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, but so is what's his name, Burke. You know,
Turk.
He's also in all the shit. Yeah, he's in Punisher also. So, but
yeah, he's the one who's actually in all the shows.
Right, but her character. You can see that even early on, she was having some sort of feelings towards Matt. Again, Matt Murdock is a playboy. He may not come across like Tony Stark, but he is one. Trust me, he is as a good friend of mine says, Matt Murdock is a poor man version Tony Stark whore. Man whore, that. I didn't say it. I'm just quoting what my friend said. So, but the scene where her and Matt are on the roof and they caught that one guy, and then she stitched up Matt from being knocked out, and she held him back, and they put that one guy on the roof, and she tells Matt, "Put the knife here, right above the eye part." Oh God! I was like, no, don't do that! Don't do that!
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That
and he was like, ah! Matt did it. Daredevil did it. I'm like, ah, no. That's funny.
But what I like about this character, though, Socks, is that she's willing to do what's right, too. I mean, she put her own career on the line. I mean, think about it. How many times can you tell your boss, I can't come in today. I'm sick. I'm sick. You can only be sick so many times. Like, she's putting her own career on the line to do what's right. And and think about that judgment call you have to make. Because she's not watching Daredevil. She doesn't know she's in a show called Daredevil, or Daredevil's the main character, so helping him is the right thing to do. In this world, she is a night nurse a nurse who is just trying to do what's right, taking a chance on him, because she said something in her first episode that made sense. Matt Murdock dies in her apartment. What's the story she tells the police? Like, how does she explain this to the police? Being like, this guy is dead in my apartment, but I didn't kill him. Taking a risk to do what's right. And that's what makes her such a great character. And like, yeah, the point of this character is she's supposed to be the connective tissue between all the shows, because in phase 1 of the Defender saga, so that's like basically up till the Defender series, she's in every season of a show. She's in Daredevil season 1, Jessica Jones season 1, Daredevil season 2, Luke Cage season 1, Iron Fist season 1, and Defenders. And then phase 2, she's literally only in Luke Cage season 2.
Right. Well, it's really funny that how Daredevil was telling her he could smell the cologne of this guy. And she goes, right there. You can smell the cologne through walls right there. What is that?
And then she was able to verify he was correct when she smelled the cologne herself. But overall, I think a great character. She didn't overstay her welcome too much in the series, but I think they did a great job of setting her up to be that connective tissue between all the shows. I think she served the purpose that she needed to serve.
Yeah.
Now, let's go on to James Wesley, Fisk's right-hand man. The overall, I mean, let's be honest, this character was smart literally in every scene, like, except for his last scene. But I like that, though, because here's the thing. Everyone does something stupid at some point, and that's a clearly careless error to make, is that, like, yeah, Fisk called him, he thought it was important, and he didn't think Karen would try anything. Plus, the gun was closer to him than it was to her. She had to reach over to get it. And even still, he, like, has that... And it was funny, I was rewatching the series. Like, at first, you're like, oh, yeah, he has such a good poker face. Like, oh, yeah, I don't have a loaded gun on the table. You believe it. But when I rewatch it, it's like... and this is the actor does such a great job. I hear that slight bit of doubt in him, that slight fear. It's small, really small, but it's there. So if you haven't seen it if you're watching this the first time, or if you're at that moment, like if you're in Karen's point of view, you would believe it. But when you know it's not true, you hear it. That's like that range, Sox. That's a very hard range to get in. But what I like about this character is that this is like, in some ways, he's the brains of the operation in a lot of ways. Like, he really is. Like, he's able to advise, as you said, he's Fisk's advisor. He advises him a lot. He helps him out. And what he likes, he genuinely cares about Fisk. He's not just a paycheck. Like, and Fisk cares about him. Like, this is the one guy that Fisk would not hurt. This is the one guy that Fisk genuinely cares about. And he would not hurt Wesley for anything. Like, he will not let any harm come to Wesley. Except for when, he's distracted by Vanessa and doesn't realize what Wesley's up to. But, Sox, what's your thoughts on Wesley's character?
Wesley is a good right-hand man. He's an advisor. He's very level-headed. He's not a hothead. He just got stupid. He got really stupid. He did something that was not meant for him to do. He is not a hitman. He's not a killer. He took it upon himself to do something that bit him in his ass. I'm sorry. This is outside his range. This is above his pay grade, or down below his pay grade, as it may be. But this man should not have put himself into this situation. He was above this. You have henchmen for this reason. You have people you could send to do this for this reason. He took it upon himself to try to intimidate this woman, and she put a bunch of holes in his body.
Well, as he said, he wanted as much men on Fisk as possible, as many men on Fisk as possible. But what I like about him is that sometimes he knows what Fisk needs better than himself. Like, when Fisk loses it from Madame Gao, he took it upon himself to bring Vanessa. He's like, sir, I know you don't always... I know you're not always going to call me if you need me. And he brings up Vanessa. Like, he knows what Fisk needs. And that's what makes him such a great character, is that he always knows about what Fisk needs. And, like, the thing is, he's an intimidating villain himself. This is what Season 1 really shows to me, Sox, is how important the supporting characters are. It's not just Fisk that makes this show. This is like one season where all these supporting characters, all these supporting villains really help make this season. Not just Vincent D'Onofrio. Like, yes, he's definitely important, make no mistake, but it's like these side characters I think really helped make the show. And that's what, when we get into season 2 and 3, that's one thing that's missing, honestly, to me, is characters like this right here. Is that I miss this character in season 2 and 3. This was a great character.
One thing I realized about season 1, specifically season 1, there are no throwaway characters here. Every single character, whether it's a lead character or supporting character or a minor character, whatever you want to call it, has a presence. They have an arc. They stand out on their own. Every single character, whether it's Wesley to Leland Alski to Madame Gao to Nobu, every single character has their own time and their own presence, and they stand out. And they're fleshed out perfectly. That's good writing.
Good writing, good performance, and Wesley is one of those characters. And honestly, Sox, one of the reasons I was kind of partly hoping they would reboot these series was so they could bring this guy back. Like, I wanted to see this guy again with this actor, but I understand you have to show continuity. But I do hope that they bring this guy in flashback, though, because I really want to see more of what Fisk and Wesley's relationship are. Like, why is Fisk like so upset over Wesley's death compared to other people who die? I want to see more of that backstory, which I hope we can see now that the Disney series are canon to Netflix stuff. So we'll see. Now, Ben Urich, what's your thoughts on this character?
They got him right. He's a reporter. So in the comments, of course, he's a reporter for the Daily Bugle. They can't say the Bugle at the time because Daredevil, the show, wasn't owned, by Marvel at the time. Because even though Marvel did the Netflix show, they still said it was some other. They could have said that they couldn't say the Bugle because Sony owns the Bugle because of Spider-Man and all that stuff, which is kind of messed up. It's confusing. But he's a reporter for the Daily Bugle. He is a reporter, a hard-hitting reporter. He tells the real truth behind everything. He's not a biased reporter like today's world of reporters. He gives you the facts and just the facts and how it is. But let's be real. Who was in Ben's apartment one night when Ben was on his computer and he turned around and he saw who he saw? Because he went after a certain individual's mother.
Well, he didn't really do that. He was kind of trapped into doing that. But as far as Fisk knew, he did that.
Right, but still, it was like when he didn't even know he was there until he started talking and turned around like, what the hell?
But you know what's funny? When he was looking at his story and I saw that close up of the incident, him reporting on the incident, hundreds killed, and I'm thinking, hundreds killed. And they in universe, and they made a musical about it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Think of another tragedy that happened in New York, and they made a musical on that. That's, anyways, we get off topic, but that's just how stupid the musical on Loki doing an invasion, killing hundreds of people, and doing a musical about that. I'm like, that really? Okay. Anyways, what I like about Ben Urich's character, though, is that he is a reporter through and through. Is that he like Karen, he wants to do what's right. And he helps Karen out. Is that when he sees Karen at that auction, he's like thinking in his head, my God, what an amateur. And he helps her out there and actually lets her help him. And I love that he wants to help. And he's like dealing with that and helping his wife. Is that he has his wife who has some form of dementia, clearly. And I don't have a topic for this character for his wife, but like I do love his wife too. It's like I love that she has dementia, but then she has her good moments too, where she's all there 100%, and she's like helping Ben. It's like, you are a reporter, damn it, you can do this. Like, she gives him that words of encouragement that he needed. But overall, I do like this character because he wants to do what's right. He wants to help people. He wants to report the truth at the end of the day. And that's what makes this character great. You have Ben Urich trying to fight for what's right and dealing with this guy. But what I like about Ellison is that he's very layered, is that you see him trying to help his wife, like with the insurance. like helping, like giving him a strategy to deal with the insurance, and even offering him a promotion so he would get better benefits. You got Ellison who's looking out for him. And I like how they set this up, is that there's clearly some mole at the Bulletin. You know there's a mole, because how else did Fisk know that he saw his mother? And I love how they set it up. You think it's him. You really think it's Ellison. And then, like, maybe, yeah, he's a mole, but maybe he's trying to get Yurik out of the way so that Fisk doesn't kill him or something. But then I love in that whole arrest montage, which probably one of my favorite scenes in all of Daredevil, honestly, that arrest montage. But anyways, when you see the FBI storming the Bulletin and then arresting his secretary, that look on his face is, holy shit, oh my God. Like, Yurik was right. Ben was right, and I didn't listen to him. And that guilt of shame, that look of shame, and he puts his head down. I'm like, that was executed so perfectly. Like, Sox, what's your thoughts on this character?
You can tell by after he fired Ben, and we all knew that was messed up. But by the time he brought back in season 2, when he brings in Karen Page as the new reporter, that was his way of trying to redeem himself by firing Ben from season 1. Ellison is not a bad guy. He was just caught in a very bad spot, And then when he finds out who was the mole, and like you said earlier, he realizes Ben was right, and he should have listened to Ben, because Ben was telling the truth the whole time. But he didn't listen to Ben, and he has his own little bit of a redemption arc in that season with Karen, what he does for her. Sometimes people, they realize their mistakes too late. And Ellison realized his mistake too late. So instead of focusing on that, he's like, well, okay, I can't bring him back to life, but I could have somebody else that he was close to finish his story. I respect that.
Yeah, overall, great character, and definitely has a lot to say in season 2. Now, Laura L. Vanessa. I am so glad they brought this actress back for Born Again. I was fine with the recast when it was supposed to be some reboot, but now that it's part of the same continuity, you got to bring her back, because I think she's a very important character in this series, because I feel like in some ways they say this saying, behind every powerful man is a smart woman, or there's some saying like that. I don't know exactly how it goes, but there is some saying about like how every man has a smart woman behind him, or every powerful man. I don't know. There is some saying though. But anyways, it's very true with this character right here. The way that she helps Fisk out. I mean, really, as some people were upset about it, the thing is, Vanessa was right in a lot of ways, telling Fisk to go public. I thought that was such a smart thing for her character to do, is that she helps Fisk become, I don't want to say a better person, because, I mean, if she was really doing that, Fisk would stop his reign, but helping Fisk become better at what he's trying to do. And I think that's what makes this character so great. Again, another great female character. So I'm always hard, because writers, I feel like they don't always write the female characters well. I don't know why. That is, but this one is written so well, and I really like that. I really like this character. But Sax, what's your thoughts on this character?
One thing most people don't realize about Vanessa in this show, especially this first season, I picked up on it right away. I don't know if you did. You tell me if you did or not. But when we first meet the Kingpin, he's wearing a black suit. That's not Kingpin. When he hooks up with Vanessa, she's slowly trained, getting the switch from a black suit to his white suit. Have you noticed that? Went from black to gray to white. Then
I didn't notice
you see the white
that.
suit? Right. That's
Okay.
subtle. That was very subtle, her doing that. That was she was finishing the look for him. Also, she runs that art gallery. That white wall, you constantly see the Kingpin staring at all the time. You find out why he stares at that white wall so much, because of what he did to his father later on in the show with the hammer. You know what I mean about that. So, but Vanessa is very subtle on what she does around her, whether it's Kingpin when she marries him, her husband, and other people. She's vicious. Vanessa is a snake, but she loves him. She won't betray him, but she's just as diabolical as he is. And by getting him to put on that white suit, that finishes the look of what the Kingpin is. It's very subtle. Most people don't pick up on it right away. I did. And then again, I've been reading comments for, especially the Kingpin, for decades, so I knew right away he doesn't wear a black suit. What is this? And then again, watch the show. And you see how she gets him to put on this suit. But it takes a few episodes to get there, but it finishes along the way. Just like with Daredevil, he wears that black thing, that black suit all the time until he puts on the red costume at the final episode. It's a slow transition to get to where he needs to get to. That's world building. That's storytelling. That's character development.
That's a really good point, Sox. It's like it's something I kind of see it now that you said it, but I definitely did not notice that until you said it. But again, good storytelling is subtle. That's what makes it great. So yes, I totally agree with you right there. But overall, great character, and I'm glad they got her back with this actress because it just would not be the same without her. It's like, I know we can't get Wesley back, but this character did not die, so bring her back at least. Now, Father Lantom. I gotta say, New York's a big city. Hell's Kitchen itself is big. What are the odds that Matt Murdock and Ben Urich have the same priest?
Hell's Kitchen is basically just a neighborhood in New York. It's, from what I understand, a guy told me one time it's about 25 blocks long altogether. That's still a lot of neighborhood, man. That's a pretty big neighborhood. If that's true or not, I don't know. I don't live in New York, so I couldn't tell you. But that's what he told me. But still, 25 blocks, that's a pretty big, long neighborhood, man, if you think about it. But still, the father in this situation, he knows that Matt is Daredevil. And he doesn't hide it from Matt. It's like, I know this, and I'm not a fool. I know what you're capable of. And he's like Matt's conscience in a lot of ways. He goes to the father to talk about certain things, discuss certain things. It's his voice of reason. It's his confidant. It's his consigliere. And he reaches out to the father because he trusts him, and it helps him, and it's his own personal guide. I like that sort of thing. You need that sometimes, somebody that like tell you what it is, what the real truth is, and not the biased truth. Something that you need to hear. There's points in the show throughout all 3 seasons where Matt leans on the father for certain advice, and he has to listen to it. Like, do I do what I need to do, or do I don't do what I want to do? It's that slippery slope that Matt has to go through. Remember, Matt is not just a lawyer fighting within the law. He's a Catholic. Catholics, and they thou shalt not kill, right? Right? Yep. Thou shalt not kill. He's also a lawyer. He doesn't believe in the death penalty. He believes in the justice system. That's a moral stance he took. He took that upon himself to believe in that. Doesn't always go in his favor with people around him killing people. Punisher, but we'll talk about that season 2 with the season 2 next week when we talk about that. That's the moral debate episode there with them 2 guys. But I like the father. I really do.
I think he's a great character. What I like about this character is that he legally cannot tell Matt's secret. Like, he cannot tell anyone that he's the devil of Hell's Kitchen. It's like kind of similar to a lawyer. There's that confidentiality agreement. Like when you make a confession in penance, in that I don't know what you call it, that I'm sorry, I didn't grow up Catholic, but in that confession booth, anything that Matt says stays between them. He cannot say it. I don't know the accuracy about the latte thing. I feel like seal of confession would not apply over lattes, but I don't know. If someone's Catholic, can you confirm in the comments section? Because I want to know, would the seal of confession really apply over lattes? Because because I'm really curious about that one. But it's like you said, I like that he wants to help Matt. He wants to help Matt, guide him, and he uses his religion. What I like about him is that he's a perfect blend of religion and real, right? Because I feel like there's sometimes religious characters, there's Flanderization, actually, the term Flanderization, named after Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, where their character trait becomes one character trait becomes their only character trait. And I feel like sometimes with priests and pastors, that's all they are. It's like they're religious. That's all they are. Lantem, I don't know how you pronounce that, but just a small little detail. But the fact that he says he can make a mean latte, that he's good at making lattes, the fact that he has some other skill besides being a priest, though, besides religion, and that's what I like about him, is that and the way he gives Matt advice, he tells him the story about how he saw the devil, or helping him, just guiding him towards the right decision. He's such a great character, and there is something I love about him in season 3 that I'm gonna save till we review season 3. But it was in the first episode. We'll just say Hell's Kitchen takes care of its own. We'll talk about that because another thing that shows his character. But overall, great character. Nobu, he's kind of there. I don't feel like there's really a lot to say about him. It's kind of it's funny. Leland even calls this out, or not Leland, it was Wesley, calls it out in the show itself. He's like, what does Nobu actually do for you? He just yells at you and takes your money. But what does he actually do for you? I'm kind of like, yeah, that's actually a fair point. What does he do? He's in all these meetings, but what's his actual contribution here? I mean, it feels like he's mostly there for setup for season 2, but that's okay. A little bit of that is fine. But I don't know, Sox, what's your thoughts on this character?
Nobu beat the hell out of Daredevil. He cut him up, didn't he? He messed Daredevil up bad. I mean, those hooks he had, God, it hurt me when I was seeing him slice up Matt Murdock like that. Matt got out there just by luck. Just by pure luck, he got out. Survived by luck. Because Nobu, oh my God, Nobu was rough. Man. But Daredevil set him up, man. He lit that dude up on fire, man. But obviously, he comes back for season 2, and you find out how, because of doing that show. But man, that was a rough fight, man. Oh my God. But Noble, it was funny when Noble tells Leland, basically, I'm butchering the saying when he tells Leland, every man has to go his own way. And he walks away from him and he goes, what the hell does that mean, prick? I love Leland. I really love Leland. Sad what happened to Leland because Leland got stupid, but I actually liked it. He was such a sarcastic, but we'll get them in a minute. I'm going to get off on a rant, so I'll say that for a minute. But Noble, yeah.
And honestly, not too much to say about him other than that fight with Daredevil, where he almost killed Daredevil. And I mean, he's lucky he wasn't fighting another character from the DC universe who's known for martial arts, because he would have been toast if he tried to fight Batman. But anyways, Madame Gao. What I like about this character, Sox, is that she's probably the only person in this entire series that Wilson Fisk is genuinely afraid of. I mean, Fisk is not afraid of anyone or anything. He intimidates them. They don't intimidate him. She is the only character in this entire series who actually has ever intimidated Fisk. But it actually makes sense why. And what I like about this character setup is that for this entire series, you don't know what she is. You think she's just some old woman who has some influential power. And then when Daredevil actually fights her, she knocks him out with one hand, and you realize, shit, there's more to this woman that meets the eye. And I love how she acts she pretends to not understand English, because I think that's a smart way. It's same with Fisk, because pretend not to understand each other's languages because it makes you appear smarter. Or no, you look stupid to fool your enemies. That's saying the wise man pretends to be the fool or something like that. But overall, I think she's such a great character, such a great villain, and unlike Nobu, she actually contributed something to Fisk's little organization. So Gotta give her that credit too. But Sox, what's your thoughts on this character?
It's funny how she even dismisses Wesley. At one point, she's like, "You can go," and he goes. He literally wants. He looks like he's pissed off by being dismissed, but he goes.
Well, Fisk gives him that little nod though too. Like Fisk is like, "Yeah, listen to her."
Yeah, but no one says that to Wesley before. But obviously, other than Kingpin. But she's like, "Yeah, you can go," and I'm like, "Bye," but she's got that. She's definitely got that attitude where she literally commands respect. Until she meets up with Jessica Jones, where Jessica Jones just had enough of her mouth altogether.
Do they actually talk in
funny,
Defenders? Like, I know they fight in Defenders, but do they actually like speak to each other?
Not really, but Jessica Jones, her sarcastic ass, she's like, I've had enough of this crazy old, I'm paraphrasing, I've had enough of this crazy old broad.
You have to rewatch Defenders. Not as good as Daredevil, but anyways. Overall, though, great character, and I'll be honest, she's probably the one character who made like Iron Fist season 1 a little more bearable.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Sure. Yeah.
One character you don't want to mess with. But I like that she still has some honor here. Like, even though she told Wesley to go away, she still felt genuinely upset about his death. And she's like, I would never hurt him. He did me no dishonor. Is that she has some moral lines that she doesn't cross. Is that she worked with Wesley. Wesley showed her respect, so she shows respect back. Yeah. And again, I like the layers of these characters. And her even plotting with Leland. So what were you going to say about Leland, Sox, before you stopped yourself?
I love how he's the only one that can be overly sarcastic, even towards Kingpin. He says what he thinks, no matter what, doesn't care. He'll even be so sarcastic to Kingpin and anyone around him, whether it's Nobu, towards Gao, to Wesley, to Daredevil, to Kingpin. He doesn't care. He does not care. He has that open, sarcastic attitude about him. It cracks me up every time. But he messed up. He messed up. He tried to, I'll take half of your assets. I'm not taking all of them. This is where we're gonna go. I'm gonna go my own way. And Kim is like, "What do you agree?" He's like, "No, you heard Vanessa." I'm like, "Uh-oh, Wild Bull coming at you now, buddy."
Well, the thing with that wasn't necessarily Leland being stupid. That was actually more of Fisk being stupid. Because really, if you think about it, though, that's actually what cost Fisk. If he had like agreed with Leland, Fisk would have gotten away with it. Like that's the thing. Like Fisk would have gotten away with it, but because of that, that's literally how he was caught. That's because Matt overheard the cops trying to kill Hoffman. And if Fisk had said, "Oh shit, you're right, I gotta let you go," it was really essentially it was Fisk's stupidity that got Leland killed, in my opinion. But what I like about Leland is, again, he's the numbers guy, he's the money guy. That's what makes his plan. That's what makes him be able to get away with everything he says. Because without him, their whole organization is screwed. The whole organization is screwed because they need that money. They need the money to work. That's how they get away with everything. And yeah, but I like about him, he actually conspired with Gal to kill Vanessa because in some ways to him, like Vanessa is distracting Fisk. But I really do like this character. Like, I agree. It's like season 2 and 3 without him, just like Wesley, I miss this character. I miss the sass character. He was such a great character.
Before we move on, and I just remember this, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Before we move on, I gotta bring this up. Leland, in a spur of the moment, and not paying attention, Daredevil lit him up with a fucking taser. He got him. He got Daredevil with a taser, right? In the parking lot. Because Daredevil was hearing Stick with coming up behind him. Like, what? Ah! And he got out of there.
Yeah.
So you got to give Leland credit. He outsmarted Daredevil for at least a good second. He like Stick said, You got lit up by an old man. What is that?
Well, it's funny because like Wesley, it only takes 1 second of being distracted to mess everything up. That's all it takes, 1 second. But yeah, Leland, great character, and yeah, Stick essentially is what helped Leland get away. And Slacks, what's your thoughts on Stick?
I love this character. A lot of people I know didn't care for Stick because he was too rough. He wanted a soldier. Matt wanted a father. I understand that dynamic. Stick is like Punisher, man. I don't have time for a bleeding heart idealist. Okay, I need to go in, do what I got to do, and get out. I'm not going to sit here and hold your hand while you sit there crying like a little baby girl. Okay, we got to go do this. So either you do what I tell you what to do, or we're going to have a serious fucking problem. And I agree with Stick. Stick is right. Daredevil's like, yeah, there's too much training for me. And Stick is like, pussy. But Stick is the one that trained Matt. He trained him how to fight, and he calls him Matty. He never calls him Matt. He never calls him Matthew. He calls him Matty. How you doing, Matty? And he's like, oh, Stick, what are you doing in my city? He's like, your city? You don't even know what's going on in your own backyard. Talking about your city. You got lit up by an old man. But it's fun. Even when they had that fight in Matt's apartment, Daredevil finally won that fight, by the way. What does Stitch say? You know, you can keep the Stitch. Nice catching up with you. I'll see you around. One thing that you realize with Stick, you remember when Matt was a kid, he made that little bracelet out of the wrapping. He gave it to Stick, and Stick didn't want to train him no more. He still held on to that. After all those years, he still held on to that. And he left it in the apartment after the fight. Matt finds it and he holds it, and he realizes he does care about him. He held on to that for all those years. Even though they had a falling out there, he still cared about him. That's gonna say something, man. And I appreciate that. Again, good storytelling.
And that's what I like about him. He's like layers. Again, it's layers. He appears as this tough guy who does what he needs to do, kills the black sky, has no problem killing a kid, calls Matt a pussy, basically, says I'm here to train you, acting like a hard ass. But yeah, he kept that bracelet. So it shows that he does care about Matt. And you see more of this in season 2 with this character, but Stick is such a great character. I mean, you only see him for one episode, and he's kind of set up for season 2, honestly, but for one episode, that's okay, because he still kind of helped the current plot of the series, gave Matt some backstory, but it makes sense why Matt is able to fight, and I like the fact that he pretended like it was the nun's idea to train him when, no, it was Stick's idea, because Stick reached out to Matt because he knew that Matt would be useful, and the way he trains Matt to, hone in on his senses, and actually doesn't feel sorry for Matt, because he was blind all his life, whereas Matt actually had 9 years to see. And he tells him how it is, no one feels sorry for you, and that's how it is. We always put on a show and stuff, right? But at the end of the day, people are more concerned about their own lives. That's just the reality of it, right? That is a reality. And he tells Matt that truth. He gives Matt the truth with that. But that's what, again, in some ways, he really was a great trainer. And I love his attitude, and I love how the way he takes the beer cap off and he perfectly throws it in the trash. Knocks off the bottle cap, and the fact that he likes beer, the fact that he asks for beer too, just shows some human aspects with him, which I really like. So Stick is a great character, and in some ways maybe he's not completely wrong, saying don't have friends, but for someone their lives, in some ways I get that. So overall, I think a great character. And now, Socks, let's get on to Fisky Poo.
Every time I think about Wilson Fisk, I think about what Mikey Sutton said about Wilson Fisk, about Vincent D'Onofrio. Years ago when I did a party, Mikey said about, Vincent coming back as Wilson Fisk. I wouldn't trust this. Remember when he said that? And he said, and he would always say it in his way, and he would always say it not as an insult towards Vincent, but as how Vincent responded to it. Because Mikey was the one that said that Vincent would come back as Kingpin, and before any other scooper said it, Mikey was the guy. And Vincent came out and said, "I wouldn't trust this."
And then turns
And
out,
guess
nope,
what? He
Mikey.
came back. He came back as the Kingpin. Mikey was right once again. I wish Mikey was here to watch Daredevil Born Again with us. I would do a watch along party of Born Again with Mikey Sutton on this channel with us. I really would. We would give Mikey an open invitation anytime he wanted to be on the show with us. I know my co-host would agree with that. Anytime he'd be allowed. He would just say, "Hey, I want to be on the show." Not a problem. You're on the show. But
Yep,
oh
absolutely.
my god, yeah.
But what's your thoughts on Fisk in this series, in this season specifically?
I love him, man, because Vincent D'Onofrio captures that character to a T. Oh my god, the way he is in the comics is exactly how he's in the show. He is that diabolical, and he just gets more and more diabolical as the show continues, as the series continues, because and Kingpin is that devious, is that diabolical. You don't know what this guy's going to do. When you think he's going to do one thing, he's doing something else. When you think you're going to catch him over here, he's doing something else over here. He is just that devious that he can get away with it. He has that much control, that much power. And he's not a Thanos level threat. He doesn't have superpowers. Doesn't need it. He has his brain. This is more powerful than any superpower in a lot of ways because he knows how to work this. He knows how to be everywhere at once. He knows how to manipulate and control and tear apart. So Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. You cannot get another actor to take this role from him. There's some actors that capture that character to a T. He's definitely that guy.
Oh yeah, Sox, absolutely. Like this is a guy you do not want to mess with. Like I would be afraid of Fisk. Like I would not want Fisk mad at me. I mean, think about it. He took a guy's head off just for interrupting his date with Vanessa. Like this is a guy you do not want to mess with. Like literally everyone but Wesley is afraid of this guy, and Leland a little bit. Leland has some isn't at the same time, but he is someone that you do not mess with. The way he earns respect, the way that he is a guy you do not cross. Like he is like I would be afraid to be in the same room as this guy. Like this guy is the villain of Daredevil. Like he helps make Daredevil like just as much as Charlie Cox. Like you need this guy. And I love his backstory. I love that he's this abused kid who kills his father to save his mom. And what's funny is that I actually do feel sorry for young Wilson Fisk. Like, how am I going to say this so it doesn't get me in trouble with people seeing this? I don't blame him for doing what he had to do to save his mom's life. I'll say that. I'm going to word it like that because I do not want to get clipped out and people going, "Oh my God, look what Batman just condoned." Nope. But anyways, that's what I like about this character. It's like that voice he has, that Wilson Fisk voice. It's just this aurora of fear that like the only one, Madame Gao, the only one who can intimidate him. Everyone else is afraid of him. Like this be in the same room as him. Like I would be scared to death to be with him. Like this is Kingpin. And I do hope, and I know Mikey Sutton did tease this, but I do want to see him fight Spider-Man because he is a Spider-Man villain before he was a Daredevil villain.
Yes.
Vincent D'Onofrio even said this too, that he wants to fight Spider-Man.
I had just found out something recently today. I think it's a good thing. It might lead into what we just said just now, what you just mentioned, is that episode 2 of Born Again, which comes out in March, episode 2, Kingpin will mention Spider-Man by name. I don't know what the reference is about. I don't know what the references is going to be about. I just read up online a couple hours ago. As of today, he mentions Spider-Man by name. I would love to see something happen there. Because, like you said, that is true. Kingpin was a Spider-Man villain before he became a Daredevil villain. And there is, from what I understand of the story, Kingpin is supposed to try to outlaw mass vigilantes in New York, and Spider-Man falls under that category, like Punisher, Daredevil, and so on. But I would like to think, I hope to see one day where Kingpin wants to step on a bug, as Kingpin once said, "I want to step on a spider."
What I love about Kingpin, though, is that he, at least in the animated series, he's a physical match for Spider-Man, and he's just a normal human. And we know Batman would beat Kingpin, so that proves right there that Batman would beat Spider-Man.
What people don't know about Kingpin is actually a trained sumo wrestler and boxer. That is true. That is very true. He was, people say, "Well, what can a sumo wrestler do?" You don't want to say that, man, because sumo wrestlers they have strength. Okay, yeah, he's not Pete Captain America. I'm not saying that, but he knows how to fight. He knows how to defend himself. He's a trained sumo wrestler and a trained boxer, so he does have some sort of fighting skills. Okay, one thing I truly do appreciate about Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, if you notice in the show how his acting is, how he goes from being very calm about a situation to, almost escalating like a volcano. Like when he finds out from Karen that she killed Wesley later on down the line, how his attitude changed at the moment when he's sitting there looking at her and she's talking about it, or just how his range in his voice is. He goes from talking normally to you can literally see the steam coming out of his ears, because that's range of his character, man. That's how he is in the comics. He's the same way.
And I just hope that Born Again does him justice, because I'm a little concerned after Echo, because I did not like what they did with him in Echo. I thought Echo's the one they did him dirty. I had no issues with him in Hawkeye, unlike other people. I'm like, guys, he threw Kate Bishop around like a rag doll, and she only got out because she had a gadget that literally caused an explosion. Calm the fuck down. Kingpin was not beaten up by anyway. But Echo, that whole what so I hope they do him justice, because Echo did give me some room for concern. But hopefully the Punisher writers know what they're doing. So but overall, great character, and that final fight. I just picture Daredevil the musical. Save us all from Wilson Fisk's reign. Save us all from him causing us pain. Save us all from Wilson Fisk. Save us all.
Save us all from this musical. I had to keep enduring every time I do a show with my co-host.
So, Sox, what did you think of this fight between Daredevil and Kingpin?
Bad musicals aside, I enjoyed the fight because we see Daredevil in his costume that he got from. It's based on a character named Gladiator in the comics. There's a character named Gladiator, and not the Shi'ar character, but the street villain character. But he gets a costume finally, and we see him get ready to go into the fight with Fisk. It's a good fight. I like the fight between them two later on in episode 3, and I'm sorry, in season 3, the finale of season 3. That fight's way better in my opinion, but that's besides the point. But other than that, I enjoyed this fight scene, and then putting Kingpin in the penitentiary. And we knew that wasn't the end of the Kingpin. We knew that was going to be the end of his story. But it was a good fight scene, and the dynamic between how it builds up between them two from episode 1 all the way to the season finale of season 1, where they finally get ready to go at it. I like that. And it's like two boxers that are getting ready to go against each other, that haven't stepped in the ring against each other, and they're building it out for months, back and forth. Who's going to be the better? Who's going to win this fight? We know the good guy is going to win against a bad guy, but we also know that the bad guy is going to put a smack down on the good guy. And we're sitting there with our popcorn and our ice cold beer watching this, and like, Come on, baby. And sometimes you're gonna have people who are gonna root for the bad guy, but come on, baby, let's see this.
Yeah, and well, so I changed the name of this topic, because they don't call him Kingpin at all this season. We call him Kingpin because that's how we know him. But did they? I don't remember if they call him Kingpin in season 3. That's the one I need to the season I really need to rewatch. But this fight right here, what I love about this fight is that they use the law, right? They use the law to take him down. Matt Murdock and Franklin Nelson and Karen Page, they took him down. They got the information from Hoffman they needed to arrest him, to make him wanted by the law. But even that wasn't enough. You see that he even got to an FBI agent. I mean, hopefully he doesn't get to any more FBI agents, right? Hopefully that, after this season that he doesn't get any more FBI agents working for him. But anyways, it shows that this is where Daredevil was needed. Where Daredevil was needed to take him down and to have that fight. Because, season 3 fight was definitely better, but for a good first fight, well, technically, I guess not the first fight if you count the Nobu, but the first proper fight with them, I'd say, is that Daredevil has his suit for the first time. This is Daredevil now, no longer the devil of Hell's Kitchen. This right here is when Daredevil was born. This fight right here, and the way that he finally took him down, and Fisk is upset the way he's beating on Matt. Now he's he hates the city all of a sudden, but then Matt gets the upper hand, takes him down. Great fight right there. I really love it. Such a great fight. Not too much to say about it, but just how badass it was. And other thoughts, I like Brett Mahoney's character, the good cop. Not too much to say about him, but other than Foggy needs to stop buying his mom cigars. But anyway, Sox, any other thoughts you have about this season, Daredevil season 1?
It's kind of silly, but we've already discussed that, it's connected to the MCU. Some might say loosely. You do see Avengers Tower in the distance by when they show certain scenes of by the water in New York in Hell's Kitchen, where whoever's talking to whoever outside in the distance, say Ben Urich is talking to Karen. I'll say that. If you look in the distance in certain episodes, you can see Avengers Tower.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are signs of Avengers Tower, so it is connected that way. So again, it's small, minor details like that I do pick up on.
But season 1 can get away with that, I feel because it was so recent with all the incident, for example, happening. Not too much happened, that season 1 I feel could get away with a looser connection. So the other seasons where I started having an issue with it. But overall, great television. And okay, so Fox, I'm gonna guess what your rating is. I'm gonna guess you're gonna rate this season as a 10. You can tell me if I'm wrong though.
Correct.
Same thing for me, a 10. This is perfect television to me, season 1 of Daredevil, and I'm saying this as a DC guy, not a Marvel guy. Any other final thoughts you want to say, Sox?
No, I really enjoyed this season, man. But then again, maybe I'm biased, and I can admit that I am. But I enjoyed Daredevil. I loved all 3 seasons. But we'll talk about season 2 next week and season 3 after that. But season 1 to me is, well written, well acted, well directed, and that wonderful intro, and I like how Marvel does that with their characters, man. He's not even called Daredevil to the final episode, if you think about it, right?
Yeah. And did you notice how when the series moved over to Disney Plus, it used to say a Netflix and ABC Studios production. It's now a Marvel Television. They took out Netflix. So that's the only change that's actually made.
Well, also, I gotta point this out, man, is that Bob Iger and Kevin Feige were the ones that got the Netflix shows over to Disney. People think it's Bob Chapek. It wasn't Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek was a cheap, bad ripoff of Iger. And I'm not defending everything Iger does for Disney. He's made his mistakes. I agree. But he's also made a lot of good things. He's done a lot of good stuff for Disney. Unlike certain other YouTubers like Valiant Renegade, which will hate on Iger and Disney for life because they're biased, hating I have rants on that altogether, which I'm going to start talking about more so when I do South Bulletins again. But they brought that over instead of doing a reboot for Daredevil as a continuation. And all these actors are coming back. Even like you said, even the actress that played Vanessa. And I just read last week, I believe the actress that played Elektra is going to come back. The original actress, not
nice.
they were supposed. Yeah,
They
they were supposed to.
were going to recast her.
They were supposed to recast her, but now I'm hearing that they might bring her back because they want to keep this as tight as possible. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Hopefully.
again, if the shows didn't come, if the shows weren't bought by Disney, be ported over to Disney Plus off Netflix, we may have had to go through a reboot. I'm glad we don't. I'm glad that they bought them and they put them on Disney Plus. I remember I heard before that happened, Disney Plus will never have a rated R or an MA show on their channel. Really? Explain Punisher.
Yep. Well, I mean, if they didn't have those shows on those shows on their platform, they would have had to do a reboot because you don't want to make them go to a competitor site, a competitor service,
Right.
just to watch, just for your current shows make sense. So, but overall, this is a great series, and I'm so glad that we got to do this review. I'm so excited, so excited to see what happens next with Born Again. And as Sock said, coming up, Daredevil season 2, and we'll see when it comes out because hopefully next week, but it depends how fast I edit the review too, because I edit these reviews. So keep that in mind. But anyways, check that out. And guys, and also coming up too, One Punch Stand, July 11th, 2025. And guys, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more unique takes, interesting thoughts, and great banter such as this. And on that note, any final words, Socks?
Ta-ta for now.
Have a marvelous day.